Nick Newman has reached the point everyone feared was coming. On Tuesday, April 28, The Young and the Restless spoilers put Nick at the center of a painful spiral, as the pressure around him finally becomes too much to hide. What once seemed like something he could control now looks far more dangerous. His stress, his choices, and his growing reliance on pain pills are all catching up to him at once. And this time, it may not be something he can simply brush aside. Nick has been carrying more than people around him may realize. At first, it might have looked like he was just trying to manage the weight of everything pressing down on him. But now the signs are becoming harder to ignore. The strain is starting to show, and the situation is beginning to feel much bigger than a temporary setback. This is the kind of moment where everything can shift. For Nick, the real danger is not just that he is struggling, it is that the struggle may no longer be private. When someone reaches a breaking point, the people around them often begin to see what they missed before. The small changes, the tense reactions, the choices that no longer seem like choices at all. Now, Nick appears to be facing the consequences of that downward slide. The spoilers make it clear that he hits rock bottom, and that means this is not just another difficult day, this is a turning point. It is the kind of emotional crash that could force Nick to look at what is really happening, whether he is ready or not. Pain pills may have started as something that seemed manageable, but that line can disappear quickly. What begins as a way to cope can become something much harder to control, and Nick now seems to be standing right in the middle of that dangerous truth. The pressure has been building around him, and the choices he has made are finally coming back to him. He may have believed he could keep things together, he may have believed he could handle it on his own, but Tuesday's spoilers suggest that the situation has grown past the point of quiet denial. And once things begin to unravel, it is hard to stop the fall. For Y&R viewers, this is especially tense because Nick is not usually someone who wants to appear weak or helpless. He often tries to carry his burdens without letting everyone see how heavy they are. But this time, what he is facing may be too much to keep hidden. The real question is whether Nick can recognize how serious things have become before the damage spreads even further. Because this is not being framed as a simple mistake. It is not being treated like a rough patch that will fade on its own. This feels like the beginning of something with lasting consequences, especially if Nick cannot face the truth about what is happening inside him. The people around him may also have to make difficult choices. If they notice the signs, can they step in? If they realize Nick is spiraling, will they be able to help him before things get worse? Or will Nick's pride, pain, and pressure keep pushing him deeper into trouble? That is what makes this spoiler so heavy. Nick is not just dealing with stress, he is dealing with the kind of pressure that can change how someone acts, how they thinks, and how they respond to the people closest to them. And once that begins, it can affect everyone connected to him. This is where the story becomes more than one man's private struggle. Nick's rock bottom could become a wake-up call, but it could also become the moment that exposes just how far things have gone. Either way, The Young and the Restless seems ready to pull Nick into a much darker emotional place, and viewers may see him forced to confront the truth he has been trying to outrun. At the same time, another storm is building elsewhere in Genoa City. While Nick struggles with his own breaking point, Victor Newman is making a very different kind of move. Victor is not spiraling. Victor is not uncertain. Victor is doing exactly what Victor does when he wants control. He is cornering Phyllis. Phyllis has been trying to hold her ground, but Victor is not giving her room to maneuver. The spoilers say he calls her bluff, and that changes everything. What Phyllis thought she could manage suddenly becomes much more serious. The situation starts moving forward, whether she likes it or not. And when Victor makes a decisive move, it usually means the pressure is about to become unbearable. Phyllis may have believed she could navigate the danger in front of her. She may have thought there was still a way to talk, push back, delay, or outsmart the situation. But Victor is taking that space away from her. He is tightening the walls around her and making it clear that he is not interested in negotiation. That leaves Phyllis with fewer choices. Victor knows how to force a decision. He knows how to put someone in a position where standing firm becomes harder by the second. And for Phyllis, this may be one of those moments where confidence starts to collide with reality. She has to decide whether she can actually follow through. That is the heart of Victor's move. He is not just making a threat, he is forcing the situation into action. Phyllis can no longer simply act like she has everything handled. She has to face what Victor is putting in front of her, and the pressure is closing in quickly. For Phyllis, that is dangerous territory. She is not someone who likes being pushed around. She does not back down easily, and she does not usually accept being cornered without a fight. But Victor is not an ordinary opponent. He understands power, he understands leverage, and when he chooses to assert control, he does it with purpose. That makes this confrontation feel sharp and tense. Victor is not leaving much room for Phyllis to escape the pressure. The options in front of her are narrowing fast, and that means every move she makes from here could matter. One wrong decision could make things worse. One stubborn choice could push the conflict even further. And still, Phyllis has never been someone who surrenders easily. That is what makes this storyline so compelling. Victor may be forcing the situation forward, but Phyllis has to decide who she is going to be in that moment. Will she bend under the pressure? Will she keep pushing back? Or will she discover that Victor has already taken away more options than she realized? Nothing about this feels casual. Victor's move against Phyllis is not just a side conflict. It carries real weight because it puts her in a position where she may not be able to control the outcome anymore. And for someone like Phyllis, losing control may be one of the worst positions to be in. As Victor tightens his grip on Phyllis, the tension spreads to the people connected to her. That brings Lauren and Daniel into the middle of the fallout. Elsewhere, Lauren refuses to back down when Daniel challenges her over things with Phyllis. What starts as a disagreement clearly carries more weight than a simple argument. Both of them stand firm, and neither one seems ready to compromise. Lauren is holding her ground, Daniel is pushing back, and with Phyllis at the center of the tension, it is easy to see why emotions could rise quickly. Daniel has his own connection to Phyllis, and when trouble surrounds her, it is not something he can ignore. But Lauren also has her own position, and she is not willing to be shaken from it just because Daniel challenges her. That creates a clash where both sides may believe they are right. The spoilers suggest this disagreement escalates because neither Lauren nor Daniel is prepared to budge. That is what makes the moment important. It is not just a quick exchange that comes and goes. It feels like the beginning of more tension that could carry forward. And when Phyllis is involved, tension rarely stays small. Lauren's refusal to back down may say a lot about how serious she believes the situation is. She is not stepping aside. She is not softening her stance. Even when Daniel pushes her, she remains firm. For Daniel, that may only make things more frustrating. He may feel pulled into a situation that is already complicated by Victor's pressure and Phyllis's choices. With Victor cornering Phyllis and forcing the matter forward, Daniel's own emotions could become harder to manage. And if Lauren refuses to give ground, the conflict between them could grow even sharper. This is where The Young and the Restless often finds its strongest drama, not only in the big power moves, but in the personal fallout that follows. Victor makes a move, Phyllis feels the pressure, and then the people around her begin reacting in their own ways. Suddenly, one conflict becomes several. One decision creates new arguments. One act of control sends emotional shockwaves through everyone nearby. And that is exactly what seems to be happening here. Nick's storyline brings the emotional weight. Victor and Phyllis bring the power struggle. Lauren and Daniel bring the personal tension. Together, these spoilers point toward an episode where several characters are pushed into uncomfortable places. But Nick remains the emotional center of it all. His rock bottom is the kind of development that can shift the tone of everything around him. While Victor is focused on control and Phyllis is trying to survive the pressure, Nick is dealing with something much more internal. His battle is not about winning a confrontation. It is about whether he can face the truth before it takes more from him. That makes his storyline feel especially painful. There is a difference between being under pressure and being consumed by it. Nick may have crossed into that more dangerous place. The stress has built up, the choices around pain pills have caught up with him, and now the signs may be too visible for anyone to ignore. If Nick truly hits rock bottom, then the next step becomes critical. Rock bottom can destroy someone, but it can also force them to stop running. It can become the moment when denial finally breaks. It can become the point where help is either accepted or rejected. And for Nick, everything may depend on what he does after the fall. That uncertainty is what gives the episode its emotional pull. Viewers are not just watching Nick struggle, they are watching a man reach a point where the old way of handling things may no longer work. He cannot simply pretend everything is fine. He cannot keep acting like the pressure is manageable if it is clearly taking over. Something has to give. And if the people around him begin to see what is happening, then Nick may have to face more than his own pain. He may have to face concern, confrontation, and difficult questions. He may have to explain what he has been doing, why he has been doing it, and how far things have really gone. That is not an easy place for anyone to be. At the same time, Phyllis is facing her own version of a trap. Victor is forcing her hand, and the room around her is getting smaller. She may still want to believe she can find a way out, but Victor is moving with intention. He is not giving her the space she needs to stay in control. The pressure closes in from all sides, and Phyllis has to decide whether she can really follow through now that Victor has called her bluff. That is a dangerous question for her, because bluffing only works when the other person is willing to hesitate. Victor is not hesitating. He is pushing forward, and that means Phyllis's next move could reveal whether she has a real plan or whether she has been relying on nerve alone. Lauren's conflict with Daniel adds another layer to that pressure. If they cannot agree on how to deal with Phyllis, then the people closest to the situation may become divided at the worst possible time. Instead of forming a united front, they may find themselves locked in their own disagreement. And with Victor already asserting control, division could make everything more difficult. Still, Lauren does not back down. Daniel does not simply let the issue go, and that stubbornness on both sides suggests this argument may not fade quickly. The Tuesday, April 28 spoilers seem to set up an episode built on breaking points. Nick reaches his. Phyllis may be nearing hers. Lauren and Daniel are pushed into a standoff that could create even more tension. And Victor, as always, is moving the pieces in a way that keeps everyone else reacting. For Nick, the biggest question is whether this painful moment can become the start of honesty. For Phyllis, the question is whether she has any room left to maneuver. For Lauren and Daniel, the question is whether standing firm will help the situation or make it worse. And for viewers, the drama comes from watching all of these pressures collide on the same day. Nick's spiral cannot be ignored forever. Victor's move against Phyllis cannot be undone easily. Lauren and Daniel's conflict may be only the beginning of something more complicated. Every storyline points to a character being forced to face something they would rather avoid. That is what makes this episode feel so tense. No one is simply moving through an ordinary day. Nick is being pushed into a painful reckoning. Phyllis is being backed into a corner. Lauren and Daniel are clashing over a situation that is already full of pressure, and Victor is making it clear that when he decides to act, he does not leave much room for anyone else to breathe. So now the real question is this: will Nick's rock bottom finally force him to face the truth, or will this be the moment everything around him begins to fall apart even faster?